yours to put it right in. How many Patris Epiphany et Spiritus Sancti? Often in our lives, and almost, maybe you might say, most of the time we're in a storm. There's not one thing happening, there's another thing happening. There's always problems that are caused, and it's like, wow. And many times it feels like too much. But that's when we have to go wake up Jesus. But what's he going to say? Like he said today, first thing, you need to have faith. You need to have faith. Everything will work out all right. So do we need to wake him up to hear that? We can say, no. He's saying, have faith. The storm will sooner or later subside. That he is with us. And as long as it's not us causing the drama storm, which is usually what storms are about. But whatever. We need to realize if we are trying our best, Jesus is with us in our life as we go along. In the letter of Paul to the Romans, it talks about, owe no one except the debt of love. And I think that's important that we try to stay out of debt, seriously. And everyone is in debt so much, and then they go to school, and they get in debt, and then they stay in debt for the rest of their life. The house, for the car, for this. But debt just keeps you in more poverty because you're paying high interest. You're always, yes, you get whatever you want. You get that thing, that car you always wanted, then you have all those payments, you have all those, high taxes on the license plate, on all these things. The best thing to do is really to save and then buy once you have the money saved. You will save so much money and you will have so much more money if you just buy what you can afford and save and then purchase it, rather than all these payments. Payments enslave us to the banks. It's really materialistic things that are slaving us. We just go, no, I'm going to live simple. And people that live good moral lives, like you are trying to, will have more money than the average person. The people that live good moral lives aren't having all this drama and law cases and lawsuits and this and that, or drinking and drugging and partying and wild lives. Those people waste so much money because they have all these problems and stuff. You see, so you get a drunk driving ticket, then you have to go to court, then you pay higher insurance, and you do this and that. This is divorcing, and you have all the child support and the fighting and the constant going to court and all these things. Sin causes a lot of problems. And financially, too, if we live a holy life, God will bless us, but not to be rich, but with what we need. But you never know. Maybe He would want people to be rich if they are going to use it for good, for something good. But there's a big danger in wealth. So Paul goes on to say that love of God goes into loving of the people right around us. So, as you know, the Ten Commandments, there are 2 tablets, and what they say is, on one tablet was written, loving God. That don't have any false gods, don't take God's name in vain, and keep holy God's day. So that's loving God. That's the first stone of our lives. The second one, though, comes out of that. If we love God, we're not going to do the sins like he listed today: commit adultery, kill, steal, bear false witness, covet what other people have. We won't do these things because we love. We are liars if we say, I love God, and then I don't take good care of the people around me. And it's difficult to take care of the people around us. It is. It's not easy to love the people we're around. But at least we cannot do bad things that cause chaos to them, to ourselves. We on Friday had All Saints' Day, Holy Day of Obligation. And then we see people who really loved God. And they put it into practice by loving other people. They were people of prayer. They were people of penance. They were people who had faith. And they were people of love. Then yesterday we had All Souls Day. And again, we see where we are going to die. And we want to look at how our life now is, and all of November is a month of remembering the dead, but also remembering our own death that is inevitable. And so we want to learn what we can. So we're on this boat through life, the storms, the good times. But we want to avoid causing storms by sin, and at the same time trying to have that bring Christ more and more into our home, our family, our world. So there is more of this love and peace and calmness. Again, it takes faith, but we look what happened that day. Do we believe it? Do we really believe Jesus was in a boat crossing with his apostles? They were doing nothing wrong. They were crossing over to go preach. They're doing something good. And Jesus is sleeping when all of a sudden the storm becomes so strong. So I want to read a little thing about having more faith in God even when the storms are. In an article of faith in the Holy Catholic Church, that God has not only created the world, but he sustains and governs it. This preservation and ruling of the world and of each individual creature is called providence. There are people who think that God is too great a Lord to busy himself about the care of this world, that to do so is beneath his majesty. It was enough for him to create the world. For the rest, he leaves it to itself or to fate, enjoys his own happiness, and as if were sleeps in regard to us. Thus think some, but only the ignorant and the impious. Were he as these imagine him, he would not or could not have aught to do with creation. If he could not then he is neither all-wise nor almighty. If he would not, then he is not good. And if he knows nothing of the world, then he is not omniscient. If we once believe that God created the world, and what rational man can doubt it, then we must also believe he rules and sustains it. Can any work of art, however well constructed and arranged, subsist without someone to take care of and watch over the same? Would not the greatest of all masterpieces, the world, ever come to the greatest confusion and fall back into its original nothingness, if God, who created it from nothing, did not take care of its further order and existence? It is indeed true that the method of divine providence with which God controls all things is so mysterious that when considering some events, one is persuaded to admit unnecessary fate and accident, the course of nature, the ill will of the devil or man as the fundamental cause. Yet in all this, the providence of God is not denied, for nothing does or can happen accidentally. Not the smallest thing occurs without the knowledge, permission, or direction of God. Not one sparrow shall fall on the ground without your Father, but the very hairs of your head are all numbered. Chance, fate, and luck are but the ideas of insane or wicked men, which even the more rational heathens have rejected, and the course of natures, but the constant, uninterrupted, all-wise, and bountiful preservation and governance of creation through God. The perverted will of man, or of the devil, is but the instrument which God, in his all-wise intention, uses to effect the good. For he knows how to produce good from evil. Therefore, as St. Augustine says, permits the evil that the good may not be left undone. If we pursue the history of our first parents, of Abraham, Joseph in Egypt, of Moses, of the people of Israel, of Job, Ruth, David, Tobias, Esther, Judith, and others, we will easily see everywhere the plainest signs of the wisest providence, the best and the most careful, absolute power, by virtue of which God knows how to direct all things according to his desire, and for the good of his chosen ones. The gospel this day furnishes us an instance of this. Why did Christ get into the boat? Why did a storm arise? Why was he asleep? Did all this occur by accident? No. It came about designedly by the ordinance of Christ, that his omnipotence might be seen, and the faith and confidence of his disciples be strengthened. Thus it is certain that God foresees, directs, and governs all, as Scripture, reason, and daily experience prove. Would we but pay more attention to many events of our lives, we would certainly notice the providence of God, and give ourselves up to his guidance and dispensations. The Lord ruleth me, and I shall want nothing, says David. And we also, we shall want nothing if we resign ourselves to God's will, and are contented with his dispensations in our regard. While on the contrary, if we oppose his will, we then shall fall into misfortune and error. God must rule over us with goodness or with sternness. He is no slumbering God. Behold, he shall never slumber nor sleep that keepeth Israel. Domini Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti.